So this is Kongtoranee Payakaroon. He's the older brother of Samart Payakaroon, and this is at Samart's gym up in the north of Bangkok. The thing about Kongtoranee is that he's somehow not as famous as his brother because Samart was also an actor and singer and all these things. But Kongtoranee actually has more belts than Samart does. He was 5-time Lumpini champion and I think like 6-time European world champion. He's incredibly based in boxing, but what's really interesting about his session in this one, and what I really, really liked about him, is that sometimes these sessions are just really grounded in basics, and you get a school of thought kind of laid out for you, and that's what he does. He just lays out a particular school of thought in like how you move, where you step, how you punch, and it's beautiful. It's really, really cool. So I very much liked this session with Kongtoranee. He's a very cool guy, and he actually has the same laugh as Samart, which was really sweet. So he's asking me about myself, where I fight, how many fights I have, that kind of thing. But the Payakaroon gym was its own name, but they trained out of Sityodtong in Pattaya. So he was actually in Pattaya for many years. Here he's showing us the Wall of Fame, and I'm asking him if he had 5 belts. And he's like, yeah, 5 at Lumpini, but 6 European World Champion belts. He seemed more proud of this.
Lumpini, 5 belts, but Europe, 6 belts.
It's very cool to have these 2 brothers in one gym. Just total legends. When I had trained with Samart, he had worked very steadily on symmetry, and Kongtoranee didn't really do that, which was interesting, that they had different styles, even though they were brought up in the same gym with the same trainers. It goes to show that you don't stamp out fighters at a gym. Everyone is very unique. Here he just comes right in and starts showing me how to turn from the torso. His movements, he does them in super slow motion, and you can still see the power that comes out of them, which is really incredible. And look at his giant hands. So as I kick, he's body punching and then hooking before my leg even comes down. And see how he steps over to take the impact out of my kick? So basically he just goes over the same way you would if you were catching the kick but doesn't bother catching it, and instead throws the hook. It's evasive and nasty at the same time because you're coming straight in. So he's telling me not to dip on my punch. Basically he only bends his front leg. I was super bending my back leg, which he doesn't do as much. Watch his knees.
Only the front knee.
So your punch becomes a body punch by that bend in the front leg. My hook was coming kind of weird. He likes it to come out longer. It's almost like Singdam taught that same hook where it comes out long. But he shows why here. And he's like, you have to keep looking at your target because that's how you land at the right spot. Basically, you're like spotting with your gaze. He's saying if you look at your fist, you follow your fist. It's not going to land. I'd like to go back and train with him again because there were so many elements watching it now that I just didn't understand in space. But if you watch him and the way that he pivots around his center and his footwork, it's so economical. Look at how he comes out from his ribs and turns his fist right at the last second, and he does not fully extend his arms. I think part of that is his relaxation, but I think on impact he keeps a very slight bend in his elbow. This was cool. He basically wants your stance to be so that your back foot is halfway down your front foot and over. I could not do that in this entire session. It's very square feeling, but he does it when he's going to throw a bunch of punches, not when he's moving forward or back. But look at him position. So he's basically molding me into the position I'll be in at the end of that punch. Look at him turn the fist. He turns it so that it ends right on my chin. That's lights out right there.
From the ribs, baby.
I'm not coming from my ribs. I'm like reaching out. But see how he pulls it? The rotation comes from the hip, and then the arm gets straight by the rotation. You don't straighten the arm yourself. See how it comes right back to his chin? But look at the bend in his front leg when he does that too. And then the pivot on the hook. He's so balanced. See how he can throw those back and forth and he's pivoting with his knees and his feet, but his upper body doesn't bend. Like he's not like a reed bending back and forth. He's pivoting around a center point. See how my body's contorted? That's not what he's doing. His torso stays completely upright. So all his power is just in the centrifugal force of like his shoulders going back and forth. See, he's showing me to relax my shoulders because the power doesn't come from the shoulders. See, he feels it in his hips where that rotation comes from. But he sticks his ribs to his, or he sticks his elbows to his ribs. You can see how when I punch, it's like I'm reaching, whereas his are like exploding out, and then the power is on the very end of the punch. Now he's showing again how to deal with kickers. So if I kick, he waits for the kick and then immediately comes back with that leg kick. It's as I land. But look at where his front foot lands in relation to my front foot. He doesn't come super outside. That's part of what's so economical about his style, is that he does not pivot super hard to the outside. He just gets slightly out of the way. He feels it on his front foot. See how he kept tapping his front foot there? And he doesn't lead with his head. So his chest comes forward. He feels it in his hip. See how my back foot is pointed to the side? His doesn't do that. That's part of his, like, gauging his feet by putting the back one midway on the front one and pulling it out. He's more staggered there because he's coming forward. But look at the angle of his back foot. See how everything comes, his hip and his torso and his shoulders come together. And then he's saying to punch on those front two knuckles. You should just be able to keep doing this. Like, see here he's gauging. That's his calibration of how your feet should be. When he's just squared up for punching, the back one is midway from the front one. And then if you're going to be walking, it's the same calibration, but you just bring it back like 45 degrees. I stole that, and I started doing that before throwing my right cross, and it made my right cross so strong. I'm bending my knees, but I'm not actually twisting my torso. He twists his torso quite a lot.
So pretty. His hook, so pretty. He rolls his shoulder He rolls his shoulder.
You can see when he just starts rolling back and forth how he feels those punches.
Look how his shoulders move.
See how he kind of digs it, but his elbow stays in by his hip and his rib? Bang, 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 bang. Oh, it's fast too. You can see how I'm reaching on my punches and his are like explosive. That's from not sticking to my ribs. If you stick your elbow to your rib, then the twisting of the hip is what generates the power for the punch, and it makes the explosiveness and the power come at the end. So here he's just watching me. He's changing angles to be able to see like all the ways that I'm not doing exactly what he's doing. But he still breaks it down to be just very simple all the time. He's a good teacher. And I can feel that it's not coming out of my rib. See how he just shifts his weight onto his front foot and his back heel just barely comes up as he finishes the punch? He's so on balance. I liked this. He said it's the same as shooting a gun. You like look down the barrel of your arm. So I'm trying to punch thinking about my back leg generating the power, but he focuses on his front leg, kind of pulling you forward. It's like he steps on it. So now he's showing me how my back foot kind of goes behind my front foot. It makes me off balance. He keeps showing me this calibration. You can see why he does that. See how the slight squaredness allows him to really generate the power from his shoulders? He's doing it slow, and you can still see where the power is on that. Look at how his pinky is out, too. Look how relaxed his hands are. He's totally relaxed, but the pop is in there. The pop is in his shoulders. The way he, like, rolls over his shoulder on the hook is so pretty. It goes to show how much practice goes into just being relaxed in punching. Look at how he turns his fists, and look at how he just barely cups them. See how his shoulder like rolls up to his jaw? Boy. Look at where he's looking when he watches me. He saw that my hands were starbursting at the end because I was trying to be relaxed. You don't open your hand at the end, but he just keeps them very loose and cupped. But he's looking at my shoulders. Because for him, that's where the relaxation and the pop comes from. See how it comes back before he throws the hook? He says it's like a spring. That slight roll back is like loading the spring. And then I've made my hook short again. He likes it kind of reaching out a little bit more. But interestingly, he has it stop on the jaw instead of going through the target, which are just different schools of thought. But this load is the same as I've learned from other boxers. Look at how his weight comes over onto his front foot first, and then it rolls onto the back foot as the hook comes through. And I'm not doing the shoulders. Look at his shoulders.
So pretty.
It's so economical. It's crazy. There's like no excess in the movement at all. So I'm rolling my feet. I'm like trying to get it to come from my feet, but I can't quite get it to come from my shoulders. It tells me to go put my gloves on. So he starts me out again, just like super basic, just to see what my movements are on punches and kicks. This is part of the diagnostic part that trainers will go through just to see how you do things, and then they know how to make corrections. What I really liked about him is that he did not stop at just like, yeah, you can make loud sounds on the pads. He was actually trying to make significant corrections. Here I was stepping outside his foot. See how he's turning his foot? He wants me to step directly towards his front foot. So we go foot to foot, toe to toe, and then you turn your heel on the standing foot as you kick. He said that if you step with your foot angled first, which is like the Basruten way of doing it, that you shorten your kick. So that's wrong. That's step out. You just step right in front of their foot. So you actually end up having to take a bigger step, but then as you twist your standing foot heel, you get an extension on the kick. So here he's going to put me in the shape of what the kick should look like at the very end. He balances my shin on his belly pad and rolls it so that my shin is touching his belly. And then he wanted my swinging arm super flung back. And then he wanted me up on my toes and kind of upright. So you kind of lean in at the end point of the kick. You don't lean back. And see how he pushes my swinging arm back? It should go like way behind you. So he's telling me I need to step straight more. See how he just gets right up in my business on his step? It's straight. He's like, if you don't step close enough, you end up leaning back on the kick to try to get extension, which I thought was interesting, because that makes your kick even shorter. So he liked that one because my head and my foot came together, and then I stayed kind of upright. But on all of my kicks, he kept telling me, relax, relax, which means he feels some point in it that's tense. It's probably my swinging arm, honestly. So I kept like over staggering my feet. When he says no, no, no and laughs, he sounds exactly like Smart. It's very funny. So see how he's using that arm to generate the power on the kick. If you kind of leave that arm in front, he thinks that you don't get full relaxation and whip on the kick. He was way into these. His teep is cool. See how it kind of comes up? It kind of like submarines, but he doesn't want you leaning back on it at all. You have to stay upright. See how it comes up like that? He doesn't bring his knee up at first. And then, weirdly, when you block, he wants you to kind of like come up on your toe a little bit. But because you're leaning forward, you have good balance on it. So I'm not stepping towards his foot, but I'm at least keeping my foot in line with his foot. And here you reach across his body, basically to the back of his neck, and keep your guard up for protection, and then throw the knee as you like pull his neck, but you have to step the same as the kick. So you step and grab kind of at the same time, but you have to keep your guard up and reach across because then you're guarding from both sides. So he wants me to go as he steps forward. So I'm kind of touching his shoulder, but not grabbing his neck. It's a very typical Sylvie problem. I don't like to touch my trainers. But you can like latch onto the back of someone's neck. But look at how he's just walking. Like he just totally walks. And then when he comes off of the knee, he just reverses back to his stance. And then he wants the elbows up. I keep bringing my foot behind my lead foot, which he thinks is super funny. See how he just steps back? He just reverses and goes back to his original stance. So you knee, and your foot comes down, and then you just bring your other leg back. There's Samart saying hi. So he wants you to land well. So after the knee, he's throwing that kick that I have to block so that as I come off of the knee, I'm balanced. But look at how high up he wants that kick. He has you point your toe, but he does not have you grasshopper the leg. So basically you want to tuck your foot really tight in. It's almost like pulling your heel towards your butt, but you're pointing your toe. But he wants it really high. When you pull it that tight, that helps with your balance. He's saying that my kick is not strong because I'm not relaxed. I'm basically like tensing to throw the kick. And step. Go. Just wants me to keep stepping. I'm always taking a step towards him on every single strike. Look at where his foot goes. It's like he could step on my foot. See how I'm protected on both sides because of reaching across my own body? So my left arm is guarding from his hook, and my right arm coming across his body is protecting me from his other side. He's like, actually grab my back. I touch my trainers like they're hot or something. Like I touch them for 1 second just to do what they're asking. See how he could leave his foot in the same position and bring up the block because his weight stayed on his front foot, but it was balanced? Look at the snap on that. And then it comes right back to that same position, but not too far back. You hit with the ball of your foot. It's a very quick push kick. It's very snappy. And then because of how you land off of it, you can keep walking forward and throw the other one. Like left, right, left, right. His elbows, you always come at an angle. You don't want to come horizontal with the elbows because you get stuck on someone's forearms. So he wants this like downward through the guard. See how he comes in with his head and foot together? Oh. Oh. His head and foot come together, and then his elbow just rolls over the top, splits you right in the forehead. I can do it from a standstill, but I don't roll it as I'm stepping forward. See how he rolls it in his shoulder socket? He doesn't bring it back, like he's not loading it back, it just rolls in his shoulder.
My head and foot have to move together. I don't do that ever. So it's like one.
Head and foot come together. So that was the don't leave your head back move. He's showing what happens, how you can knee someone when they come with their belly first instead of their head and foot together. So I'm kind of angling my elbow, but because I don't roll it in my shoulder socket the way he does, it doesn't ultimately come down the center. That would be getting caught on someone's glove, probably. He wants my guard to stay there all the time. Look at him angle it. My glove gets really close to my chest,
Look at his face.
and then it's my torso turning that generates the power. And he's like, you have to touch with just the bone. If you hit with the forearm, it's no good. You just want the bone only. And you just like slice it down someone's head. Look at his step on it. He's just walking forward. It's like totally natural. I'm hitting with my forearm. But it's because I'm extending my arm out. Again, it's because I don't roll it in the shoulder. That's one of the reasons you keep your hand really close to your chest, is to get the extension to come from your chest coming forward and not the arm itself. And that's what you end up hitting with the bone instead of the forearm. You hit with your forearm when you extend your arm. Oh, see how it just comes straight down the guard? Oy. The opposite upward one. So see how he has to step between my feet with his foot, and then he can come straight up underneath.
I track my feet
Yes.
in a line.
Yeah.
I keep
Yeah.
tracking my feet in a single line. So he's saying you have to step. So I have to step forward. And then after you throw that elbow, you keep stepping. See how he steps between my feet and then the elbow comes up? So I have to come back and then step. So it's step forward with the elbow, rock back, and then step with the upward elbow. My elbows got very horizontal when I tried to do two at once.
Step right
You
between.
step right between their feet. So again, if you kind of stick that elbow to your rib, you bring the weight of your body, and that's what creates the power on the elbow, and then it just extends up at the last second. So here he wants me to follow him and like stay on him with the teeps. So you don't teep and then like admire the fact that they went backwards. You have to keep walking towards them, and then you can attack again. See how he steps off of the teep? So you don't extend your hip too far, because then you can't control the teep coming back so that you can land on it. So you have to pull back from your knee, kind of. But he's basically teaching me how to like keep moving people to different distances and then attacking at different distances. So you teep to create space, and then he's got punches and elbows for when you're in close. Not relaxed on the kick. So here he's correcting the form on the opposite side. So see how he balances my leg on his belly pad and rolls the leg so that I'm hitting with my shin. And then he wants me to get up on my toe. It's very upright. Just do not lean back on that kick. And again, he's emphasizing how you have to step. And then when you come back, you're immediately ready to block because you stand with balance. Something that Samart said during our session all the time was yun didi, which means like stand well. It's the same thing with Kongtoranee. Every single time you come off of something, you want to be on balance to block or throw the next strike. See how he's just ready at every second? Boom. And then he can just block to one side or cross block. Ugh. That's correct sound. I love that sound. So there he's starting to have me throw in like a fake teep. We had to turn the sound way down on this session because of the background noise, but you guys might hear a little bit of construction going on. They were renovating the gym when I was there. They just had a grand reopening. Look how his heel comes up as he makes that step. Boom. So the heel being up is in preparation for the leg coming for the kick. But if you do this, what you'll feel as your heel comes up is that the leg is relaxed to whip on the kick. If you have your heel down, the leg is kind of tense. He's correcting the angles on those punches. He wants me to punch kind of down on the cross. So punch, 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 and then you're ready to kick, but you have to step. So I just have to walk forward, and because I'm staggering my feet, it's hard for me to like just take that one step. I have to shift my weight first because my feet are so staggered. It's another reason to do his like calibration of the back foot being only midway behind his front foot. So here he's showing me how to kind of punch down on that cross. You don't punch down like with your elbow coming up, but your weight kind of drops as it's hitting and you like roll your knuckles down. I'm not quite relaxing that off arm. It should really just like whip behind me. I was bringing my head back on that knee. Do not lean back. So see how I almost like walk into him with the knee? If I rock my upper body back, I'm reaching, but I'm like walking into the knee. So in most training schools of thought of Muay Thai, you're always taking a step on every strike. He keeps emphasizing not being tense, like relaxing so that everything kind of explodes out of the rotation and step. Look at how he pulls that. He like pulls my arm forward to give it kind of a whip. So I should be twisting my back foot on that cross, but it shouldn't be so far behind me. I didn't step on that one. Step. So he always wants my upper body to be kind of upright. And then the power comes from stepping and twisting. Look at his feet. He actually wants my guard a little bit lower, which to me comes from boxing. Because in Muay Thai you have elbows, so generally you keep your guard much higher. But at this distance, you don't have to worry about elbows so much. Look at his weight shift from forward and backward as he's throwing those punches. Step. So he liked that I was ready to block there, even though that's not what he was asking for. There, I fell off of it a little bit because I wasn't keeping my weight kind of forward in anticipation of being hit. Go. Take a step. I'm not stepping with my front foot. So my back foot comes forward first, and then I extend with the front foot. Boom. See how he walks first? So he's saying that I'm leaning back with my upper body and like looking up. Basically, I should tuck my chin and keep looking right at him. It's like spotting. I'm not stepping forward on that elbow. I need to close the distance with the step and come with my whole torso. But see how he goes from like long, 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 and then he'll come in with short? He's making fun of my duck walk. My feet point out in opposite directions. Like that. Does not help. See how his feet are even pointing forward? He kind of angles his back foot to like maybe 45 degrees, but not even. So there, if I keep my torso upright, when he hits me and I have to block, I'm very stable because I'm like meeting the impact of the kick. I have to step on that kick. He says that I'm leaning back, and it's because I'm angling my foot and trying to reach. See how he always pushes that off arm really far behind me? It should like whip behind me. That's part of why he's always like, relax, relax, is that by controlling that arm and like not fully whipping it, I have tension on that side of my body, but that side, the kicking side, should be completely relaxed so that it just whips from the power of the standing side. So he's just having me get used to these distances and always stepping on things. He puts himself at a distance where I have to take a step to really generate the power. It's good though that I'm not like walking back from him. I have a bad habit of like taking steps back. And because of his like measured step forward teaching approach, I'm staying pretty steady. But see how he has me meeting now his walking? So he takes a step towards me and I take the same step back and then knee. This is totally like a Samart drill. So this is when someone is walking towards you and you're like going back towards the ropes. You can hit them as they're coming in. You just match their steps. So here he's teaching me how to fake a teep and then you take the step and knee instead. But he actually leans back a little bit more on the fake teep than he allows me to do on an actual teep. So see how he steps down with a step? He doesn't step down exactly where his foot was. He's having me double pump it. So it looks like I'm like bouncing my foot. But he rocks his body with it. There, I squared up my stance a little bit. And then my balance was much better on the knee. So he's trying to get me to feel how I generate the power from that fake teep. So the fake teep gets your opponent to, in Thai they say dokjai, it means like to be taken aback or shocked or not ready. So when you fake that, they kind of take a step back or kind of get really still because they think it's going to be a teep and they're going to try to brace against it. And then you take the step and knee. I'm actually grabbing much better off of that faked teep than I was doing on just the knee itself. But look at the way when he demonstrates, look at his upper body in relation to what he's doing with his legs. And look at his feet, how measured he is. It's like he's just walking around. Like, his stance is very much the same as just like walking around. Now he's having me switch sides with which side I'm faking the teep and which side I'm kneeing, because you can do it symmetrically. I'm kind of leaning forward now, which is good. I just have to take the step with it. He's making fun of my feet again. Angling my foot off to the side. So here he wants the fake on the front, and then as you come off of the fake, you take the step and kick immediately. See how punch and kick, and then you fake the teep and do the knee. The distances all work together. It's really nice.
Yeah?
I've had a problem with my back foot for a really, really long time, so it's actually nice that he was making fun of it so much, because it goes to show how important it is on your balance and movement. So now I'm trying to pay attention to my feet a little bit more. See how he wants the relaxed rhythm. He's saying it won't cut when you come across horizontally. So here he's showing when the guard is up, how you can just come straight through. He's showing how it comes down like through the gloves, and then he notices all my scars. So instead he shows me how to guard. So you basically put your palms against your head and duck your head, and basically like create a pillow out of your gloves. He has no cuts.
Darn. Yeah.
I'm saying I fight taller people all the time. It's difficult. So see how he can't get through even on his like angled ones, because I have my palms kind of cupping my forehead. He's saying you have to keep looking. Don't cover your face and look down. So you cover and then you take a step back. Yeah, so you take the distance to have them miss, and then you can knee off of that missed elbow. It says elbows loose to knees. So here he's showing me that knee as someone's trying to elbow. It's like a double impact. Forgot about my feet again. It's when you're watching these guys, even though they're the pad holder, they do their footwork. So if you watch his feet, you'll see what his footwork is like and what his kind of general stance is. He does not have a super wide stance. It's the same as his brother. They look like they're just like hanging out, walking around. Like, it's very natural. So that's my back foot pivoting hard enough that my right cross comes out straight at the end rather than me trying to straighten it. So he wants the 2 kicks and then the fake teep to the knee. So he's trying to get me to do the pattern, but look at how he leans back on the fake teep, but not on the real teep. He wants it to be higher so that it really, really looks like a teep. My fakes are kind of like gestures towards the movement rather than the actual thing. But you bring it high so that when you step, you can take a pretty big step. If you take a very shallow step up, you have to cover more distance. So that's the height of the knee that's allowing me to take bigger steps. So I'm not stepping off of the teep. As I come off of the teep, that's my step to cover the distance for the knee. So again, everything is with a step, and you can take that step off of strikes. He tells me to look at him. The reason he has me look at him is because that directs my punch. If I'm not looking at anything, or if I'm watching my fist, I follow my fist, and it's not accurate. So he's having me look straight at his face as a way to target, and still making fun of my duck feet. So here he's moving. See how he pulls the fist, and so the shoulder kind of like rotates after? It comes from my ribs. If you can have someone like pull on your hand so that you feel how it, in a relaxed, loose way, like shoots out, that's what the punch feels like.
If I look at him, I can't overturn because I don't look at anything.
It's like spotting. If I look at him, I don't overturn.
Straight.
Look at how it comes right out of his torso. Shoulder is so relaxed.
Ask him where he looked. Do you look here or I?
So we were
look low.
asking him, where do you look? And he thought we meant, where do you punch? But it's like basically the part of Batman's mask that's exposed. It's possible that he also looks there, but it's
where you
basically the jaw and the mouth. So he's just having me do the same cross over and over again so that I can feel how those punches work together. See how my weight comes forward on the cross, and then it should rock back onto my back foot on the hook? And I don't look at him, so I'm a little bit wonky, but if I was looking straight ahead, they would be coming out more accurate, I think. It's that spotting thing again. There I'm bringing my elbow out on the hook a little bit. It should be coming from my ribs, but my weight is right. My weight is coming onto my back foot there. So I have to take that step forward. He wants the head to come with the foot. He's saying yoke, yoke. Yoke is like rhythm, or to sway. I cannot control my feet. It's one of these things where it's something that you can't really control, but once you get control of it, it fixes a bunch of other things. So here he's having me stay doing pretty close range weapons. See how you take a step even when you're that close? It's to knock him back. It's like you're going to go through him. Boy. And then I create more distance with the teep. Look at how he steps off of that. See how I had to like change my teep to get that step? The step should come directly off of the teep. You snap your knee back. and then I'm losing my guard. So he wants that kick to just like whip. So as I said jamda, it means like to remember. I was remembering to relax that arm and to step more. Like I'm starting to self-correct a little bit. So see how I'm bringing my weight to the right foot, but I'm not actually stepping on these. You can step your feet even if you're not coming closer. And there's that spring load that he was talking to me about at the beginning, where you kind of roll your shoulder back first. Relax, relax. So there I'm turning my heel on my standing foot much better instead of stepping out. But see how he kicks through the target? He wants to feel like this little emphatic push at the end that's from the relaxations, from the whip of the kick. See how he moves his shoulders? That's how he feels moving around all the time. That's his rhythm. There I'm leaning back instead of stepping. So those teeps should be able to go directly into fakes. Like, no break in pace. That's Samart back there in the blue shirt and orange pants. It's not always just the way I stand, it's the way I come back off of kicks that I stagger my feet like that, which is actually really, really good to know. Because that might be why I can't throw things off of landing off of a kick or something. I'm focusing on bringing my leg back because that's the correct thing to do. But one of the reasons trainers will have you throw multiples of something is because it calibrates the way you land to be able to throw again. See how I'm too far away and I'm like rocking back with my upper body to be able to reach him? Look at how measured he is when he does that. It's just kick, step, kick, step. You could feel the tension in that kick. See how my swinging arm doesn't really move at all? It doesn't come behind me at all. It stays like halfway between keeping it in his face and swinging it. You gotta choose between those two. He wants to fake first because it insists on the step. So 2 left kicks, fake with the right, and then a left knee, because that's still all open side. Kick, kick, fake. Because I just kicked with that side, so the knee coming up is going to look like it's a third kick. See how it flows? You just get your feet in order. The thing about this kind of pad work and the way that he's instructing me is that you get a feel for these distances just by doing it over and over again. That's how you bring it into sparring and fighting situations, is that you've just felt it. It's not like combinations, it's feeling distances. This guy in the corner is asking me how much I weigh and how much I fight at, so that's what I'm talking to in the corner. You can see my front toes come off the ground as I try to like balance myself with my front foot because my weight is not distributed evenly. His feet are always completely measured and balanced. Like, he does not wobble on his feet at all. He's trying to tell me that he trained somebody who's in the UFC, and I didn't know who he was talking about. He said that she was champion or something, and then he said half Thai, and I'm like, oh, Michelle Watterson. I remembered her nickname,
Michelle
Karate Hottie. Kevin knew her real name. Kevin's better than me. So he must have trained her over at Siryotong or Evolve or something. So I'm twisting on my front foot, which is good, but I'm not stepping close enough to his front foot on the knee, which is why I'm leaning back a little bit. The closer you step, the less you have to lean back. It's kind of a paradox. It seems like you would not have to do that, but... See how he rocks his hips? The power comes from the hip driving forward. And here he's showing me not to hit like with the top of the knee. It's like you get right on the cap and it stabs in. I guess I was kind of coming up a little bit. But that's what takes the air out of you, is when you stab in with that knee. He's telling me another person who he trained. He couldn't remember his name. I was like trying to figure out, because I don't know people's weights. And so I think it was Dos Santos who he trained. He said he was left-handed. But Dos Santos is pretty scary. He's a good person to have in your roster as someone that you train. So see how my foot is twisting on that kick, but then when I come back, it doesn't reset itself to the front? So see how he tucks that heel back? It's the same way that he tells me to block, is really tucking that heel in. You make the leg compact, but not tight. See how my leg is kind of like 90 degrees when I knee? He wants it really folded together. Look at how that comes from his hip and his back leg. I learned this from everybody who makes me do uppercuts. They all have me twist my fist. And for some reason, I've learned it from everyone and I just don't do it. I think it's because I don't fully come with my hip. Like, you have to pull your elbow kind of towards your own belly button. But that's what gets it inside someone's guard. That's why you have to twist your fist, is that it slips inside. Otherwise, it's the same thing of elbowing horizontally. You're just going to get caught on someone's elbow. Look at him imitate how he can see the tension in the way that I kick. So I'm saying I'm having a hard time with it being so short. But when it's a short kick, you just kick through. See where he's putting my guard? It's like right on my eyebrow. But you have to keep looking. He's like, if you look away from your opponent, you wobble. Like, you're not targeting. See See my front foot, how it does not come down? Look at how he does it. He goes through and then he's right on balance again. He's saying relax that arm. It's all about that off arm whipping to get that side of your body totally relaxed. The power is all in your standing leg. You don't want to try to force power into your kicking leg. That's not where it comes from. He likes that one. I'm a little bit more relaxed. Step, relax. So people are starting to show up for training. It's getting a little more active. So he brings out the boxing focus mitts. So now everything was this like stepping and concentrating on my feet. It should still be concentrating on my feet and the rotation of my shoulders. It's so pretty when he does that, when he just comes with that twist for his cross. He sees my feet, even though he's not looking at my feet, which means he sees it in the way that I punch. I kind of leave my back foot back a little bit too much. That's why he does that thing where his back foot is just halfway down his front foot. So now this is just teep and punch, teep and punch. You can fight an entire fight just teeping and punching. It's all this like long range, short range. It's very cool. See how he makes me refocus on my feet all the time? I do this thing where when I'm punching, I'm like, I'm using my hands, and I completely forget about my feet. But your feet is what moves the punches. The arms should be kind of secondary to everything. It's the same way that when you kick, you don't think about the kicking leg. You think about the standing leg that drives it. I'm saying that if I focus on my legs, I can punch okay. But when I forget about my legs, my punches go all over the place. So look at his feet when he does that. See how his back foot does not drag behind him? It stays in those tiny steps, like keeping up with the front one. I leave mine behind. I kind of drag it. See how it's dragging? There, it's kind of coming. When you drag your back foot, you end up reaching more and more with each punch, whereas when it keeps up with the front foot, you're driving with that power. The Sidyotong gym in Pattaya had a lot of boxers. They must have had like a really good boxing instructor in the golden age. Samart went into boxing for a while. You can see how comfortable Kongtoranee is in boxing. It's a lot of people say that it's hard to go between boxing and Muay Thai because like the hip position is different, but you can see that it's not. It all comes from the feet in either case. He's having me bring my guard back off of these punches. You can see I do not think of my guard as something that moves. Like, I don't move with the punches. I just kind of like get bopped and cover. He's saying if you don't bring your guard back, you get popped as a counter. So he just wants my hands to come back. But you shouldn't just stand there the way that I'm standing there. You should roll with it a little bit. And so now he wants me to use my elbows a little bit to get those lower ones. I understand it intellectually. It doesn't look cool when I do it. I'm not going to be in any demo videos anytime soon. But I'm bringing it back, so step one. This is the thing, is you like turn the guard into part of the punch. Like when you come back from the punch, you're in guard. It's the same thing of how he kept emphasizing how I come off of my kicks into the right stance to be able to block. Look at his weight. It's all just like leaning towards his front leg, but he's got bend in his knees. His head is never over his knee. And then my guard's not coming back after that. I forgot about it. So now he's teaching me how to have like a emphatic end punch. So you punch, 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 and then the hook is the like knockout. So see how I drop my right hand when I jab with my left hand? He's showing me how I drop it. So it's got to come straight back. But what he emphasizes is when you have your hands up in a proper guard, you should be able to punch out of that guard. Like the punch comes straight out of the guard instead of I drop it first and then punch. And then I circle it back. See how it comes straight out for him? And that's the same thing of like the hip driving the power instead of the arm. If the arm is doing the power, that's why you drop it first. And then he wants me to twist my fist at the very end. So you roll your fist so that you're just hitting with those front two knuckles. Sylvie duck walk. Dragging my foot. So I'm coming back in guard again, but I'm not quite punching out of the guard yet. But again, he's trying to get that like emphatic last one. So he wants a little bit of a pullback to get out of the way of a counter or to load up to make that a more powerful punch. But he keeps making fun of my feet because it comes from the feet. At least I'm bringing my guard up there on that last one. He wants me to step really hard on that last one. You bring your weight, your head and your foot come at the same time, and you bring your weight behind that punch. He taught me these really cool, like very basic clinch moves. So basically, like, as someone is trying to swim in, see how I'm locking him with my elbow? As someone is swinging in, you can knee. So he wants me to put my thumb to the outside. He's saying that when you wear gloves, you can like kind of cup with your hand. I can't. The thumb is tethered to the first finger, so I can't do that. But you can kind of create a hook with your hand. So see how as he's trying to swim in, that's when I throw that knee? So I've got him by the neck, and then I'm controlling his arm at the elbow. And as he tries to take inside position, that's when I throw the knee. It's really good. He's very vulnerable at that moment when he's trying to come in. But I have to bring my leg back first for the power. So see how he kind of like, as he's rolling to the inside, he's vulnerable. And so then he has me do the other side. So you grab the neck with one side, and you control the arm. Same position as before. So he's making it symmetrical, so I can do this from either side. See how as he's trying to swim his arm in, he kind of tucks his body a little bit so that knee can just come right in. He really wants me controlling the arm though. It's important not to like have a soft Gumby arm. Like you want to be controlling his arm on that side. So now I'm steering him. My hands are a little bit too high on his biceps. They should be down in his elbows. But so as he tries to reach up over me, I push his arm up higher. See that? So I'm controlling his arms, and as he tries to reach over my arm, I push it up higher. So it's kind of like a Aikido thing where you're like using his own power to like push him past what he was trying to do. So he needs that little step back so that the knee actually has power. So he's trying to get me to time it. Boom. So before he can get inside position. So he wants me to step over and pull from his neck. So from the same position that as he's trying to get inside, I can throw that knee, I can also pull him with that turn. So when the arm's coming in, that's when you knee. Otherwise, you're just controlling that arm and pulling around when the other arm tries to take position. This is super, super effective, basic clinch move. Like, everybody grabs like this. So I'm just trying to control his arms, and he wants me to kind of, Kevin and I call this the banana peel, when you like peel someone's arms down to their side. You really have to get to the inside of the elbows. That's where you can control better. So I'm using my forearms instead of my hands because I'm more comfortable that way. But he uses his cupped hands. So see how he just takes a step back and knees? He doesn't like leap backwards. It's just a step so that you get power on the knee. And then I can turn either way and just keep kneeing. I'm just controlling him from the inside of his elbows and on his neck. So this is when he has a really good position. Double lock on my neck. So this is how to get out when someone has your neck. He wants me to push his face and step back and knee. So you create pressure on the face so that you can step back and throw that knee. So I'm saying it's when they've locked already. And he actually wants me to put my hands right in his eyes. That's something Ramba talks about as well, is blinding your opponent. You can also pinch their nose so that they can't breathe. You don't stay in that position. You push to create pressure, and then you step back and throw the knee. You don't want to stay in that extended face smush. But all of these you want to keep moving. Like all of these are moving positions in the clinch. I'm being a little bit ginger in the way that I'm pushing his face. That should be a little bit more straight arm emphatic. So he's telling me to pull him. See how he used the step and his hip to generate that movement, not pulling with the arm? Watch his feet. See how he just steps outside and then his arm and his hip come at the same time. So he's not using any power to turn me. So I'm still not getting my arm quite in the right position. I need to be on the inside of his elbow. And then I can feel where he's moving and I can control him more. So this is when he's locked already. So see how I go outside his guard? I don't try to swim in. I just go outside and put my hands on his face from the outside position. So you don't always have to struggle for the inside. See how he's locking me out? I like this one. Everybody grabs pretty much in the same way. So before they can get to your neck, he scrunches his shoulder and then pops the arm up. It's really important to do this before they grab. If someone grabs you and their elbow is bent, you can't really get the leverage to pop their arm over. See how his arm is more or less straight? You want to do this before he locks onto my neck, as he's grabbing. And see how he grabs at the elbow? And then he stays close. He's not like jumping back as he's turning that arm over. You want to stay really close. So if I goom, if I have my head tucked forward, that gives him a handle to grab my neck. So I want to stay more or less upright, and I want to shrug my shoulder to take away his handle so that I can turn that arm over before he gets a grip. See how I have to stay close? But even as you stay close, you have to bring your leg back so that you have power on that knee that comes after. That's too many steps. I'm taking too many steps. I just want to get right by his elbow immediately. There is better. See how he stays upright? And then it's the same as that knee that he was showing me before. That's as someone's coming in, so you can stop them. And then when they try to grab you, you can just switch over. This is kind of how to get out of the clinch quickly. See how he emphasizes the push on the eyes? See how he's pushing the face back? If someone's head is bent back like that, they don't have power to like resist you. I'm asking, do you have to step to the side? And he's like, no, put your hands straight in their face and knee straight. See how I'm not pushing his head back? I need to push his face back. So see how he's using his shoulder so that I don't really have a grip. I can't grab his neck. You have to do this on both sides, but you kind of pick the side that they're trying to grab on, and then you can reverse if they try to grab on the other side. But by stopping his ability to grab my neck with that shoulder, it guarantees that I have that pop over option. He's like, with Vaseline, people are very slick. It's easy to pop them off. See how he can't grip my neck properly? His elbow is stuck on my shoulder. So I'm shutting him out with the shoulder shrug first. I'm taking an extra step to get my hand onto his elbow. That should be the first place my hand goes. It's just making it more efficient. So he's saying that when you kind of lean back with that fake teep or fake knee, it causes the opponent to dokjai. It's that shock, like they're not ready for something, and so they kind of pause for a second. So this is something also that Karahat does, which is that when he's actually going to throw a knee, he doesn't rock back because it's visible, but when he's faking a knee, he rocks back because it's really visible. I didn't step my leg back on that one. See how the leg has to come back to be able to land that knee with any power. Boom. Boom. Step. So basically, you can just keep snuffing someone. Like you just keep moving from side to side and landing knees and getting out of the clinch. This is like getting out of the clinch practice. See how he rolls my arm close to my face? My shoulder hits my cheekbone. And then I should hug him on the other side of that. I should basically like crush him. See how I'm letting go? There's no reason to do that. So see, you go by the elbow, And see how now I'm holding his neck so I have control? If I push my chest into his shoulder like that, he's stuck in that position. Boom. I'm not bringing the leg back to have power on that knee. See how much his leg comes? He doesn't over-rotate. I'm over-rotating behind my own front foot, which is why that knee is slow. It should be like a subtler step to the side. My front leg is good. My front leg pivoting to the side of his foot is good, but my back leg that's swinging around doesn't have to swing behind my front leg. So see how you're keeping people from coming in, and then as they try to force their way in, you pivot to the side. And then if he tries to sweep his arm in, like wiggle his arm in, that's when I can knee. I should have stepped closer to his foot on that so that I had to use less power to turn him. See how I stepped closer to his leg, and so I had to use less power to actually get the turn? It's by turning your arm and your hip into one piece that as you pivot to the side, you don't use power, but it whips them. There I tried to like put myself under his arm. You don't have to do that. Pop the arm over, higher. You don't have to duck under. So I'm not understanding how to grab his neck and go on his elbow in the right pattern because I'm changing position to get to this move. So I go from controlling the arm up to the neck and then turn him. See how he's on my arm? See how he goes from my arm to my neck and then pops the arm over. And that way he has a grip on my neck after he's popped the arm to keep pulling me. No, I didn't pop the arm. So it was difficult because I was changing positions from his initial position with, yeah. So from arm to neck and neck to elbow. See how my hand is not under his elbow? There, see how I have a grip on his neck? He's pulling me with the hand that went to the neck. So the hand goes under the elbow first, and then the other hand that was on the elbow goes to the neck. So neck to elbow first, and then elbow to neck on the other side. There we go. But I need to step closer to his foot so that it's a tighter turn, and it whips him more. These are really efficient though. I really like these. Boom. And then I spun him out because I didn't hold him. These are cool clinch moves. Number one is figuring out my feet. So see how he keeps moving in the clinch? He's like southpaw fighters like to do this. It's easy to move outside because it's front arm to front arm. So you don't have to use power, you just keep turning like this. So this is just like a little bonus. So when someone gets the double lock on your neck, you put your hips way in and then they can't knee. So see how I have a lock on his neck and I try to knee? He just puts his hips in. I'm shorter than my opponents all the time. Does this still work? And he's like, yeah. So see how he can't get his knee in? I have to really put my hip in. I can't knee.
You have to go a lot.
I would have to go to the
Yeah,
side,
yeah, yeah.
but hip in, hip in.
Long view, yeah.
Nung Bu has trained with them before, and she did this in our fight. She just put her hips way, way in.
ใช่ฉันชกกับน้องบิว
You have to keep turning to the side when people do that. She's very tall.
ทำแบบนี้เข้าสนาม
สูงน้องบิวสูง
แดก
Yeah.
แต่ว่าประมาณ7 กิโล
Little bonus track. Get your hips in the clinch.